I never worked as a barista ever before. Day one was my first time ever like serving coffee, and like.
Are you kidding?
No, not at all. And
Are you delusional?
I guess so. But like so there was a real conversation if we were gonna have to close.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah,
that's a huge endeavor. I literally just got chills with you telling me that.
A week of our sales now is what we did, in not even like 2 months
Yeah.
in the first year.
Wow.
And we don't really make much money now. So then I think I'm like, what the fuck? What were we doing?
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck did we survive?
What's going on, internet? Welcome back to the URL versus IRL podcast. My name is Bree Lynch, and I'm going to be your host today. Today, I've got a really exciting episode coming at you. I have been anticipating doing this for a while. We are going to be interviewing two of the owners of one of my favorite coffee shops in my hometown. So I'm really excited for this. I think that there's this like phenomenon on the internet where everyone wants to own a coffee shop recently, and I figured they could actually give us some insight. So we'll roll the intro music and then get started. Lauren and Ryan, welcome to the podcast.
Well, good to be
Thanks
here.
for having us.
I'm very excited to have you guys. We've had a tumultuous time getting started with this today, but it's okay. Maybe we should jump right into it. You guys are one of the most highly renowned coffee shops in Burlington County.
You.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
In my personal opinion, I love you guys' coffee shop. I feel like it was such a safe little corner for me when I first moved here. I guess I'll just jump straight into asking you guys questions.
Sure.
How do you do it? How the heck did you do it? How did you make you guys like stand out? How did you do that?
Lauren, I don't know if you want to feel that.
He's gonna divert to you for every question.
Well, it's because if you pay attention, I'm just gonna overtalk. So I feel like if I let her go first, then I won't like monopolize the whole conversation.
That's very self-aware.
Yeah, well, it took years to get there. Trust me.
Well, there's hope for all of us.
I think what really helps us to stand out and keep us moving forward is kind of our commitment to quality, as well as to branding. Early on, from the day that we decided we were going to open a coffee shop, we knew that quality had to be there and we had to have a solid brand. I don't think every coffee shop approaches it that way. I think there's sometimes...
I wouldn't even say coffee shop. I don't think every brand approaches it that way. I think a lot of times you end up with a really cool space and like really quality, like not great quality product or terrible service.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to find someone that kind of hits all notes. And I guess that makes sense though, because each of those things require different skill sets.
Right.
So some people might be really good at one and not great at the other. Yeah. And I also think that Laura and I are a little bit perfectionists with certain things. So like I know for me with the coffee quality, like if I didn't want to drink it or if I drank what we were trying to serve and I thought it tasted like shit, I would not be able to serve it. Yeah. In fact, like there's been a few times where I bought coffee and I just don't serve it. I just eat the cost on that entire bag because it wasn't good enough and I made a mistake. So I don't want to pass that on to the consumer because it's not their fault.
Yeah. You know what's funny is you guys just mentioned branding, and that I was going to ask you guys what you feel like how important you feel like branding is to...
I think branding's everything.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I do too.
I think and branding is not a logo. Branding is the entirety of everything. Like I think a lot of people focus too much on having a cool logo, but branding is your product offering, look and feel of your space, the tone of messaging, how you communicate,
your
and
menus,
everything,
music that you play.
Yeah.
So I think we've always approached it where we knew that we had to have a solid brand to get our name out there and to kind of draw people in without even, saying a word to them.
Right. I mean, our big thing, like, our mission statement, I guess mission statement would be like, we want to provide exceptional and unforgettable experiences. And that's really everything that we do. It boils down to just doing that. And I think that's super important nowadays, especially with the cost of everything going up and stuff. I think any business that's successful, you need to provide a space that's an experience, not just somewhere that's a utilitarian purpose of someone just getting a coffee or a sandwich. Like, there has to be more of a reason for you to go there.
Yeah. Not a lot of places have a motorcycle hanging from their ceiling.
No, probably not. No, that was fun.
It's very interesting. Like, I think even though we're at the roastery today and I wasn't a customer at this specific location, now you guys have opened your second location, I can still even feel like it makes sense coming from here to there, and I feel like everything still translates.
Yeah, I feel like the cool thing about this space, if you like look at it, is like it's kind of like the inklings and the beginnings of the brand where we're trying to figure stuff out. Yeah. And I think the new space was more of a better execution of what our vision was. But that's just because, we were 25, 26 when we did this, so like didn't know about anything. I didn't It's funny. I'm pretty handy with working on stuff now and like doing paint and building shit.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything then, and I just did it and got good at it because we didn't have money.
Right.
So we had $40,000 to do everything. And
that's not a lot for starting a business.
Our original roaster was $9,000. So.
Yeah. So I think knowing that we didn't have a huge pocket going into this, that even made it more strong, that branding had to be a component of it.
Yeah.
We really, we didn't have a ton of money to put into advertising or to build out like this huge, beautiful location. I mean, this is a beautiful location.
Yeah.
But not to the level that, some places are.
Yeah.
So I think that's where branding really became a crucial aspect for Evermore.
That and like, because we were new to this, and for me, I never worked as a barista ever before. Day one was my first time ever like serving coffee, and like.
Are you kidding?
No, not at all. And
are you delusional?
I guess so. But like the funny thing is though is like, I mean, not so much now, but like when I was doing it, I was really good barista. Like I got good at it very fast.
Okay.
And it's because I don't like being bad at things. And then also when we were designing the bar, that helped out. Not knowing, because also we didn't want the whole perfectionist thing that we said. Like we didn't want to be a bad company or not seem like we knew what we were doing. So that also forced us to design like probably one of the most efficient like bar layouts that you'll find in shops.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing for us. Like I'm really big on bar layout and flow. And all that kind of stems because I'm inherently lazy and have ADHD. So I don't like doing more work than I need to. So when we were designing this, I'm like, I want to make this as easy as fucking possible to do.
And you'd never worked behind a bar in your life.
Ever.
That's
so
hilarious.
like this layout was pretty good. And then the new space, like the like process and bar flow is even better.
Nice.
And that's something that like we kind of pride ourselves in as well. We're really big on bar layout.
Nice. Interesting. That's so funny that like there's so many things that I feel like people wouldn't think about when it comes to opening a coffee shop. So what do you guys feel like is the biggest misconception about opening a cafe?
That's hard because like it depends on like expectations, I guess. I mean, but I think any entrepreneur, like, you know what I mean? If you had realistic expectations, would any entrepreneur be an entrepreneur? Because then you would quit before you even started. So I think that some of that you kind of do need, like, I don't know if you would call it delusional, but like you kind of need to be like starry-eyed in the beginning a little bit. Because like if you were to just look at numbers, you're like, fuck, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
You don't make much money. I don't know if that's I don't know if people expect that you do.
Probably, like, because they think coffee costs like $5 to $7 a cup. Like you must be making so much money with how many people come in here a day, but they don't know what the overhead is like.
No, and like coffee in and of itself is like previously like coffee's like individual margins are pretty good, but the volume you need. Like so good thing, but like you're talking about a $5 item, so the amount of coffee you have to sell. And then even when we started, we were just a coffee shop, which we thought that was a good model and things like that. And then we would go to places and we always get frustrated because you have to go to a place for good coffee and then you have to go to another place for good food.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do a coffee shop, you need a kitchen because there's X amount of coffee drinkers in a given area.
Or very high volume.
Or very high volume, yeah.
We're
like
not
if you're in like New York City and like you're surrounded by, other businesses, you could probably just be a coffee shop.
You get away with it, yeah.
Right. So when we thought about doing food, we never wanted to do it for the novelty of it. We wanted to do food in the same realm that we do coffee, which is kind of difficult because neither one of us have a culinary background. So that was an interesting challenge in and of itself.
I tried the new toast today, by the way. The
Our
hummingbird toast. Oh my God, so good.
Yeah.
I had like a little slice of it and I was like, oh, I wish I could have some
Pineapple
right now.
banana.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
The thing about the food thing, though, it's kind of a double-edged sword, though, too. Like, because doing a kitchen is expensive.
Right.
And like even in the new space, the kitchen was not doing well at first. Like,
Yeah, it took us almost a year to really make it work for us and figure it out. I think now we're at a good point, but it does add, extra.
Food in general, including all of our pastries and stuff, make up 40% of our sales.
Yeah.
So without that, we wouldn't survive. So.
Right. Do you think that? So you guys were open through the pandemic.
Yes.
Was that like the hardest moment that you've had to overcome as a business?
Yeah,
probably.
I think that's safe to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the initial.
We got hit hard too. Like we were not in business long too. We were only in our second year.
Wow.
Yeah, but when we look back at it now, I think that is what allowed us to survive the pandemic. We were so small. We really didn't have a staff at the time. I think we had one person on. So it was manageable. Yeah. Like, we were already very slow. Yeah. Ryan and I were already here, 7 days a week. So it really didn't change our lifestyle that much.
Okay.
Yeah, it was there was a lot of I remember waking up, I mean, like honestly, I feel like there was a few times where both of us just crying, like what do we do? How do we get through it?
Yeah. And you two were married. How did you work through that together? Like how did you overcome that?
It was very difficult, I'll say. There were a lot of, stressful moments. A lot of, you have a bad day, you wake up feeling shitty, but you still have to go in. And
which really sucked when you were the customer facing person as well.
Yeah. I think that together, I mean, it sounds weird, but I think we both just kept going because we didn't think to do anything else. There was a point where we were like, okay, we could close the business, but that wasn't even an option, I think.
Right.
I think we just looked at each other and we're like, we have to figure out how to make this work. Like there's no other option. We just have to do it.
Wow. What's one thing that you guys wish customers would understand about the coffee business or even owning a cafe? Like, is there any time that you're ever just like, oh my God, I wish these people knew?
It's like weird because like yes and no, because there's also like, it is stressful sometimes because like, oh, like they don't know what we're going through. But on the same other sense of it, like I don't want them to, because like it's not their business. It's our it's our backpack to carry. You know what I mean? So like I also kind of believe that like you shouldn't see how the sausage is made. To the customer, we want them to come in and just experience the experience. Like I don't want them to know if we're stressing out about paying stuff. That's not their thing to take on. Like we kind of want it to be like if you come to our shop, like is a moment to escape from whatever's going on in your life. So if we are trauma dumping on you with our shit, like that's not good. So like, I don't really know. Like I wouldn't really want them to know that, because otherwise then, open a business. So, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. What about even like we were talking about this also earlier, where like a lot of people are now interviewing coffee shop owners that are like, I want to open a coffee shop. I'm going to ask you like all these questions. What's something you wish they knew?
Why do you want to do it? That's I guess you ask yourself why. You know what I mean? Like, because the big question at the end of the day, like, if you want to do something and try to do the quick rich scheme, or like do something to make a lot of money, this is just not it. Like, don't open a hospitality business. Figure something else out. Do a tech company or something. Like, because it's kind of an industry of passion, and not just coffee, hospitality in general. Like, if you're not into it, there's really no reason or sanity reason why you should do it.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's become such a like dream for people recently. I feel like it's been like there was like a weird boom of like suddenly everybody was like, I want to open a cafe. Have you guys seen have you guys seen like the home cafes that people are doing?
Like, I feel like, again, it goes back to like saying, when you're not really thinking about in the beginning, you're like, oh, I want to do my own thing. Like, you're not thinking about how to make money. Is it going to work? How do I grow from it? And it's like a weird thing, because now sometimes when I look at those businesses, and cart businesses are big as well, which that's great. But then I look at things like that and I start immediately thinking of like, how would I scale that? Like, and it's just like a weird transition that I've experienced in the last few years, where like now when I look at certain things, or even the way we did, I'm like, oh, why do we do it that way? Like, or like focusing more on like how to grow our business. So sometimes when I look at those things, like it can work. And it's great as long as you are fine always being the worker.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you want to start something and start like a business and not create a job for yourself, because like that's the whole thing, is like, sure, you could start a cafe and like work it and stuff like that, but if you're not staffing, you don't have a manager and things like that, you kind of just created a job for yourself. You know what I mean? So it's a little different. So like at the end of the day, I guess ask the question like, why do you want to do this?
What was your why?
I'll be honest with you. At that time, I just didn't want to work for somebody anymore. That was my why. I didn't really think about making money. I just didn't want to do it. And then, again, but I didn't know any better then. You know what I mean? Like, and it kind of, if I knew everything that I knew, all the stuff we had to go through in COVID, would I have done it? I really don't know, honestly. Because I often think about now when I look back and then look at our sales for the first year and what we would do in a week, and I'm like, Jesus, like,
scary, huh?
A week of our sales now is what we did in not even like 2 months
in
the first year.
Wow.
So,
that's crazy. You guys stayed afloat.
And we don't really make much money now, and are kind of like just getting by. So then I think, I'm like, what the fuck? What were we doing? Like, how the fuck did we survive?
And how long has it been now since you guys have been open?
It's going to be in our 8 years.
Our 8 year,
yeah, that's a long-term investment.
Yeah, and I think too, like opening the new space and things like that. Like, I think everything happened at the right time, because like realistically, Lauren and I didn't really get the chance to step away. Like, it was like a year ago. Recent. Like, honestly, a year ago is when we finally like, we don't have to be at the shop all the time, and like it was a good timing, because I think we were getting burnt out.
Yeah.
And at first when we stepped away, I felt myself being a little lazy on certain days, because I was just so tired of working all the time that I just like was taking time for me, which wasn't productive. So now I'm finally like kind of getting back in the groove of like, okay, hey, like now we don't have to be the shop, but like how can we grow the business? And that's kind of like the thing that's changed now. Like, I still love coffee and I'm still super passionate about that, But I think another important thing, actually, a good tip is if you're going to start a business, whatever you're passionate about, that's great. That'll get you through the beginning. But then you need to be passionate about your business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's another thing. So many cafe owners or anyone doing anything, like, you know, the doers, the makers, the artisans, like, you're so passionate about what you do, and that's awesome. But if you're only passionate about what you do, then you kind of forget how to grow a business, and which is a whole other skill set.
Yeah.
And a different thing. And like, at the end of the day, if you don't get passionate about that, you're probably better off working for somebody.
Yeah.
Because then you can do what you like doing and not have to worry about any of the other shit.
Yeah.
It's a hard pill to swallow. I mean, I think even for myself, not that this is about me, but even for myself with the podcast, like I'm so passionate about having these kinds of conversations with people and getting to know what it's really like to do something rather than just like what the media and the internet sees of what it's like to do that thing. But then also, like, in order to keep the podcast going, I have so many other things that I have to do instead of just thinking about, like, questions and cameras and setup and all that other kind of thing.
Right.
Think about when it's releasing, who I'm talking to next, how that's going to work, everybody else's schedules, like, what people's boundaries are, all kinds of things. Like, I have to figure all this stuff out. Or then, like, I have this whole idea for somebody, and then they're like, no, I'm not interested. I'm like, oh.
Right.
You know?
Just like,
Yeah, you know? So
you kind of have to, like, we always think the product that customers see, and when they come into Evermore, that's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And people don't know, you know, the whole world that exists beneath it in order to sustain that. I'm sure it's very similar for you. There's, you know, even seeing you come here and set everything up, you know, listeners don't necessarily know that and how much time that takes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? I think I think that's part of the reason why I started this whole podcast is because I was like, the kind of stuff that we're seeing online, in the media, on TV and movies, stuff like that. Like, that's not the real, like, it is, but that's the
Everything
glamorized.
through, like, rose-colored glasses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
it's
glamorized
like
version of
the
it.
Pinterest board of, you know, what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's nice because people actually get a chance to, like, hear what something is really like before they dive headfirst into it. I'm going to ask you guys some quick questions. Do you guys secretly judge orders?
I do.
I don't work the bar honestly enough
right.
to even like have an opinion per se. But
No. If I hear words like skinny latte or grande latte, not that I judge, but I do know that they may be expecting a certain style of beverage. So then I'll know to kind of direct them in another way. But I don't judge them. But I do look for those key indicators to be like, okay, this might be like a Starbucks customer, and maybe they're looking for something a little, you know, a traditional, like not a traditional style macchiato, but like a caramel macchiato where it's upside down.
Yeah.
So if that's judging, maybe.
I guess I used to like when people would be like, oh, I'm so into coffee. Like that customer.
Oh, and then you're like, oh, really?
They would proceed to order like a large vanilla latte. Or when people, and like, I
Stop
love talking
coming for
to
me.
people that are like passionate about coffee, but usually those people won't come at you like just throwing coffee facts.
Right.
And like sometimes I always found it funny because those people that would approach you and be like, yeah, like, what's the grind setting like? And they like, it looks like they Googled a bunch of like coffee terminology.
Right.
And
What to ask
and
my
I'm
barista.
like, dude, like, I don't fucking care, man. Like, you're not gonna impress me. Like,
Right.
just get a cup and drink it. Like,
Yeah.
that's cool. Like, it doesn't, you know, you don't have to like show your worth, like, to, like get a cup of coffee. So
yeah, it's crazy to me that some people operate like that, because I remember the first time that I ever like went into a coffee shop and I was gonna like have coffee for like the first time. I was so intimidated. I was like, I don't even know what to tell these people.
what
that
to
I like.
order.
Like, I don't even know how to talk to these people, and I think I sat there for like 20 minutes just trying to figure out what I was even interested
it's
in.
like, it's wild too, because there's a lot of shops that kind of almost pride themselves on that sort of atmosphere, which is weird, because as someone who's like super into coffee and like really know my stuff, I fucking hate when I go to shops like that. I really do. And then sometimes when I'm in, like, I went to the shop in New York, I won't mention the name, but the worker, I walked in and I was just like, we were walking around New York City and I was just like, oh, let me just get like just get a small your house. And he's like, oh, we don't sell real estate here, man. I'm like, all right, dude, give me your drip. You know what I fucking asked for. Like,
right.
And he's like, oh, well, we just do pour overs. I'm like, okay.
Then
so
do that.
He did that, and then I'm like, all right, this guy's a douchebag.
Right? Yeah.
So then I just started like questioning, grilling him on everything.
Yeah.
About like he was doing, and then pointing out to.
He messed with the wrong person.
Yeah, with the wrong
And then I
one.
basically started critiquing on like, oh, why'd you set that grind setting? So what's your ratio here? And then every answer would be like, oh, why'd you do that? And like, he was fucking wrong on everything.
Yeah.
And I took a sip of it, and before I even walked out, I was like, oh, thanks, and I dropped it in the trash.
Shut up.
Yeah, I'm kind of a dick.
Yeah, Ryan,
Only when like
says
people
it like
they're
I
testing
usually
you.
don't give a fuck, and I'm not that person. But he just like I was like, all right, dude.
Yeah, they're testing you though.
He was just trying
he
to
had
be a
that
douchebag.
pretentious
pretentious
I know it all barista, and I'm like, dude, that's fucking lame.
Yeah. Speaking of pretentious people, is there a correct way to drink coffee?
No, I don't think so.
Drink it however you want to fucking enjoy.
Okay. No, like, oh, you should use
I know.
palate
Honestly, there's
cleanser,
somebody-
sparkling water.
There's another roaster around here in this area. He had the audacity to basically not allow his customers to put cream and sugar in a single origin coffee because like, oh, it like kills me. I'm like, dude, you're being a gatekeeper for the industry.
Yeah.
Because like you need to meet people where they're at. That's what we want to do. We want to meet you where you're at in your coffee journey.
Yeah.
If that's a fucking extra large latte with like vanilla, that's great.
Yeah.
But like over time, maybe you'll get adventurous and try things. But by being a gatekeeper,
Yeah.
you're preventing people from getting into the industry. Because if anyone remembers, and back when I said in the beginning, I used to drink lattes with amaretto syrup.
Yeah.
Like, if someone approached me that way, maybe I would have never been into coffee.
Right.
So, like, I think that's a big problem with the industry is, like, you have these people that, like, it's like they're guarding. I don't even know what they're guarding, basically.
Yeah. Like for
so,
what?
yeah, like, I really don't like when people do that shit. Because, like, at the end of the day, you're paying us for something.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like,
But also, you should be happy to go back there and spend your money again.
Right, absolutely.
I would not ever go back to that place if that guy
No,
told me that.
it'd be
That's
funny.
insane. You know, and like it's so funny to see like how much different you guys are from that because even like you guys doing the public pour overs and like the teaching classes and stuff like that I've attended a couple of times, I've never seen a coffee shop do that before. Like I was like, guess what I went and did today, babe? Like I went and learned all this kinds of stuff and we were doing this all wrong at home. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's great that you guys are willing to meet your people where they are and teach them and like educate and that kind of thing rather
we're
than
like
being
like,
judgmental.
I'll say it again, but like we're big on even training our like new staff. Like we always tell them we don't want to be gatekeepers.
Right.
Don't ever say no. Like if there's something that someone had maybe we don't have, don't say no. Provide them an alternative. Listen to what they're asking for, and if you know our menu, you should be able to make a suggestion that would appeal to them.
You know what's so funny is I was actually sitting with Sydney earlier, who's the co-host of this podcast, as you guys know. She works at Evermore
And our manager.
Yes, yeah, and you guys' manager, and she was coming, like she came back to do something on her laptop and she was just explaining to me how a customer was like doing a huge order and was like, oh, I'm looking for like this and this and this, and they were like describing something from somewhere else and she was able to make them a recommendation
based
from
on that. Yeah. And a lot of times when we have new customers who have never been to Evermore, we'll ask them like, what do you typically drink when you go out?
Yeah.
And they might say, you know, if they're a Starbucks drinker, oh, I get a caramel macchiato, and we'd be like, well, we don't do Starbucks style, but here's an alternative. It's very similar. And I think that goes a long way as opposed to being like, oh, well, we don't serve those. That's not a real macchiato, which some cafes would do.
Thankfully, the industry is getting a little bit better at that. When we first started, it was bad. Like it was like, and I don't. When you think about it, it doesn't make any sense. It was like the industry prided themselves as being dicks to everybody.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and like it's like they're guarding this secret, which isn't a secret at all. Because even the same thing with the roasting world. Like back when I started, like you couldn't get anyone to tell you or talk to you about how to roast because it was like, oh, these are my secret profiles. Listen, I'll post up my profiles on the fucking website.
Right.
And if you ask me anything about my coffee, I'll tell you exactly how I roast. I'll show you a picture of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
Like, that's so, like, I don't know. And it's those people, though, I think, that it's the people that really don't know that much about what they're doing. So they, like, guard this thing that they think is such a big secret. And it's really not. It's like, just simple.
It's like camera settings for like a videographer or photographer. It's like, okay, bro, like all the cameras can do that.
Yeah, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, is that
matter.
gonna make the difference?
No,
Probably not.
it literally does not. What is the most wild story that you guys have heard or experienced in the cafe?
Ooh, which one?
We've had a lot of weird instances.
So there was one, I had to throw a FedEx worker out because he dropped the N-word with a hard G.
What?
Yeah, this
in the
was
middle of service. Yeah, and I'm like, excuse me, dude? And he started defending himself. I'm like, bro, what the I'm like,
was he
said
colored?
It 3 times. No, he's a white dude.
No!
Yeah.
Wearing his FedEx uniform.
He was in his
FedEx uniform.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
And I was like, I was sitting here and he was talking to me and like he was like in a tone as if like I was gonna be cool with it. And it was like, I was like, bro, what the fuck did you just say? And he dropped it 2 more times.
No.
And then he started making some defense about how the parties to be switched and Abraham Lincoln. I'm like, bro, you need to get the fuck out.
Literally shut up, get out of my place of business. Are you crazy?
That was a wild story.
Yeah,
that's insane.
That was wild.
What about you? Have you had a wild one at the cafe?
You talking about that one?
Yeah, we did have an instance once. So we had a regular customer who would meet here with a woman, and I assumed that they were married, or dating or something. They were dating. Okay. They were dating.
I don't think dating is the right word.
But I've only ever known him with her, and they were coming in together for probably a year and a half, maybe, and then. Lo and behold, through the grapevine, we learned that this woman, they were having an affair, and Evermore was their meeting spot. So we were like, all right, whatever, we'll move on with that information. One day, they were sitting outside when we were here in this location, and a car pulled up, and a guy got out and started yelling, and they almost got in a fight, and Ryan...
They had a domestic dispute outside, right when we were, like, doing COVID. So I walked, I'm like, yo, you guys need to fucking take this anywhere but here.
Literally go down the street,
anywhere but
go
here.
to the corner.
I didn't know that was a story. I thought you were doing the other one.
So they ended up leaving. We found out that was the woman's husband, and he tracked her phone to Evermore and learned that they were meeting here. So he arranged to come here one day when he knew they were going to be meeting. So that was a little wild.
I honestly thought you were talking about the other story, and that's why I'm like, I don't think they were dating. I think she was like found on a website.
What other story?
With that person, the friend that you know.
Oh,
yeah. Coach.
Yeah.
I need this information now. Don't skip over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought you were talking about. Because like that girl, I'm not
that
saying
was
that she
bad.
was an escort, but like, I mean.
Yeah.
Maybe,
the
way that she was dressed and how they were being at a cafe in the middle of the day, I'm like, I don't know, you know?
Like that's not my business. But
we were here one day, Ryan and I, and we had staff at this point, and we were sitting in the back, and we noticed these two just like canoodling, and we're like, okay, that's like,
weird.
Whatever, like very
weird.
PDA.
Yeah.
We left, and then my best friend came in and texted me, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, that guy on the back, he was my." They went to church together, and she was like, "That's not his wife," and he's married and has kids. So she went up to him and she said, "Hi, Mr. whatever his name was," and he was like, "Oh, do we know each other?" And she was like, we went to church together. I did this dancing.
Did she teach her kids dance or something?
Yes, she was like, your daughters, and then he was like, "Oh yeah," and he got awkward, and then she said he left. The two of them left.
Great.
So I feel like we catch customers in weird things. Basically, if you go into a cafe, your baristas are listening and know what's going on.
Sound barrier,
No, they know. I remember one time I went to, Josh and I went to Evermore together, and Sydney was like literally not making eye contact with me originally because she didn't recognize me because my hair was straight. This is when Sydney and I were like first friends.
Yeah.
And she was like, "That is not Rihanna." So I don't know who he's with. Right now. But
funny.
Yeah. And then finally I got up there and I ordered it. She was like, "I was about to text you and be like, what is going on?"
I mean, you become very used to regulars' routines, and if they're not in for a certain day, you're like, "Oh, this is weird. They must be doing something." Or if they come in with someone different, it's like, "Oh, maybe they're in a meeting."
Like, what's going on here? Yeah.
I guess those are weird instances.
Yeah, I don't really. I'm sure there was more.
What do you guys think is the least glamorous part about owning a cafe?
Paperwork.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just all the things you have to do.
Stuff, writing emails.
Probably as well the problem-solving component. If something breaks,
I love problem-solving though. That's my favorite.
Well,
part.
yes,
me too.
But it can be very disorienting when you're ready to do one thing all day, and then like the toast fridge goes down, and we have to rearrange our whole day.
Yeah.
Ryan lives and dies by that shit. Like I swear. Like I feel like sometimes when I'm trying to figure out something and something breaks, I'm like, oh shit, I know what I'm doing today. All right, cool.
Yeah, Ryan's in his
like,
prime.
this is my project, and I will finish it tonight.
Cool. I got something to do.
Yep.
But yeah, I think the bookkeeping stuff kind of like suck. It's like funny because like it's kind of going full circle before we were talking. It's like, so you start with the passion, right? But like also part of the reason I think, to answer the question before of like why I wanted to do it is I didn't want to fucking do an office job anymore. I was an analyst staring at spreadsheets. So at first when we opened the business, I hated that so much that I was writing shit. I did all the pricing for the menu in a notebook on paper because I didn't want to use Excel because I was so tired of using spreadsheets. And then after 2 years, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I was an analyst. Why am I making my job so much harder just because I don't want to use spreadsheets?
Yeah.
But like, it's weird. It's like you start a business that you're passionate about to get away from being an office. And now my life right now is like an office job.
Yep.
Which is, I'm still kind of coming to terms with that. So I'm adjusting a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure at some point, eventually, maybe you'll be like comfortable with handing a little bit of that over to somebody else.
Yeah.
But that's a hard part to let go of too. Cause you're like, you could fuck it up.
Yeah.
Like, you could ruin
every
it.
component of...
I need a bookkeeper now. I'm tired of doing that shit.
Yeah.
I looked at my QuickBooks and I got like fucking 500 transactions at the match. And I'm like, damn, I don't want to do this right now.
No.
So I was like looking, I'm like, oh, I could pay someone $1,000. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. That sounds good.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which is weird because I think a couple of years ago, it's like I would never pay anyone to do anything. So no, I could do that myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the time, now I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to do anything anymore.
I can relate. I just hired an editor recently. Like the first episode of the editor edited came out today.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and like I was just like, I can't do this anymore. It's taking me literally like it takes up my entire week just for me to edit an episode, and I still have to communicate with people on like when I'm coming to do something, what their boundaries are, all the pre-production calls, like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel really awesome when like they do it and like nothing fucking happens?
It goes
like you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
shit doesn't break.
I've been going
you don't
for
lose
walks.
Everything,
Yes.
And you're like, oh, this is what it feels like to not be fucking like.
Yeah, I've had time to go for
Yeah.
walks recently, and I'm like, wow, outside is so nice.
Yeah.
Like,
Slippery slope too.
You
Though,
get
because
to
once
get
that
it.
happens, though, you're like, oh fuck,
Yeah, you
what
take
else?
advantage.
Can I upload? You know what I mean? That felt pretty good. What else can we get rid of? You know what I'm saying?
right, exactly. What's the most niche thing that you guys think you've learned about coffee?
I think maybe all the different, how much happens at origin, at the coffee farm or the producer. Learning about all the different processing methods, which not many, if you're an average.
I mean,
Yeah, people don't even know what single origin means. Like, they have no idea what that means.
Coffee's like obviously a plant, but it's actually a seed inside of a cherry, and most people don't realize that. So basically, coffee is a fucking plant that grows these beautiful like white flowers that kind of smell like jasmine. And then there's these little cherries. They're usually red. They could be yellow, orange, pink, purple. But the cherry is the actual coffee fruit, and the seed is what a coffee bean is. So coffee is actually a stone fruit because, similar to peaches, it's a pit, basically, essentially.
Yeah.
So that's what we're actually consuming the seed.
Wow.
But now there has been a lot of experimentation. So they'll take that coffee bean and throw it in with, strawberries and ferment it with those strawberries to get strawberry flavor.
That's a hard one.
That is pretty new. And when we first came on and started, roasting ourselves, I never would have thought that was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, co-ferments didn't really exist when we started.
So I think
Why is that a hot take right now? Do you feel
there's
like?
a lot of feelings on both ways. Some people think that I can see both ends of it. Truthfully, if you take strawberries and throw in a coffee plant, during the fermentation process, when you're processing coffee, it's gonna taste like a fucking strawberry.
Yeah, you're not doing anything renowned.
Are you tasting the terroir, or are you just tasting the strawberries? And then the whole argument is is that technically flavored coffee? Which kind of is. Mm-hmm. But the other side of that spectrum is the other side of the fucking coin.
Yeah.
Stupid. The other side of the coin to that is so you have producers that have coffee that maybe is a lower scoring lot that they would have struggle selling. So if they take it and they process it using co-ferment, then the cup score goes a little bit higher, which that's arbitrary but anyways. And they could sell for more money and sell a crop that maybe people didn't want before, which then they can make more money. So is that better for the farmer? And then some importers tell you no, it's a big thing. It's basically, I don't want to say it's Republicans versus Democrats. There's some strong feelings.
It's like that.
There's some strong feelings.
Wow, that's crazy to even think about.
I really don't fucking care because at the end of the day, I think we buy coffee that people like to consume. Yeah. And we also like buying coffee that's kind of unique and different. Yeah. A lot of people when we started out, I love natural processed coffees. It's something I always liked, and when we first started out, it was kind of hated upon. Now people like it more, but most of our lineup is natural processed, anaerobics, and funky honey things. And it's because we want to show people what coffee can be, not what they think it is.
Okay. I know we talked about this in the beginning, but since we had the squeaky chairs, I'm going to re-ask you guys. Can you guys take me back to the we want to open a coffee shop moment?
Sure. So, where to begin with that? When we first started, we weren't actually thinking about doing roasting at first. Oh. It was just kind of thinking about doing a coffee shop. Yeah. And then, because we were tired of getting bad coffee where we were living in Tom's River, there was nothing. And even the shops that we would look up, we'll drive 20 minutes, it was trash. So then she got me a roaster for Christmas for 1 year, basically a sophisticated popcorn popper. That's basically what it was.
Because Ryan likes to play with niche things and I just was oh, he's into weird sciencey things. He'll probably like this coffee roaster.
Yeah, you're a DIY guy. Yeah.
I also worked at a coffee shop through college, so that was kind of our introduction into the cafe and roastery world. And when Ryan was let go from his job,
we started thinking about this beforehand, but like, you know.
I know, but that was our final push.
Let go. It's okay. I can say I was fired. I don't care. Like, it's fine.
You got your own business now. You're
Claire for helping me out. Yeah. Like, for being such a shitty individual.
But I think that experience is what really made Ryan especially and me kind of think like, you know what, we don't really want to work for anyone else. Like we would rather just do our own thing and really play by our own rules.
But like now, like years later, I don't think I'm employable, to be honest with you. Like,
I feel the same way. Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of feel like thankful that maybe I got fired at the time and opened a business because I don't think that I ever would be employable. I have strong opinions.
Yeah, Ryan questions a lot of things.
I really care, and I express my, how I feel about things.
Yeah.
That doesn't really go over well in the corporate world.
Got it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it was started from like, like I'm sure everyone does it. When you have a job that you don't really like, you like fantasize with like, oh, like what if we did this? And that kind of gets you through the day. And that was a lot of those conversations, kind of like roughly starting a business plan and never got anywhere. And then when we went on our honeymoon to Costa Rica, toured a coffee farm, that was awesome. And I think coming back from that, we're like, no, like I think I looked at her in the truck when we were on our way back from the coffee farm. I'm like, no, this is what I want to do. Like I don't want to do anything anymore. So kind of all from there.
Yeah. And you guys were telling me earlier you didn't start with a lot, right? To actually open.
No.
$40,000.
Yeah. We did everything ourselves. All the build out, painting of the space. Bought all used equipment. We did a lot of
I bought the original espresso machine before
on Craigslist. We found that.
Craigslist. But the cool thing about that espresso machine, we got it for $3,000 and it was a $25,000 espresso machine because the guy didn't know what the fuck he had.
No.
To the point where like when I saw what it was, I'm like, this can't be a real Slayer. So I called him up. I'm like, yo man, can you take a picture and read me the serial number? So I contacted the company and confirmed it was real. And I called him like, yo man, I'm on my way with cash right now.
Right now, yeah.
And we bought that before we even formed our formal business
she
LLC.
Didn't want me to buy it. She was pissed.
And once we did it,
like, what the fuck are we gonna do? I'm like, listen, this thing's worth $22,000. If we don't start a business, I'll fucking sell it.
And we were like, all right, we're in now.
She's like, okay, so we're married and now you're doing shit like this. Got it.
Oh no, we weren't married.
Oh, you were married?
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
So she could have got out.
Right? Just engaged still, right.
But yes, we did not have a lot of money, so we found ways to make it work for ourselves. We also were fully prepared to work the bar ourselves for a while.
Yeah. 6 years.
Yeah.
7 years.
I also, I did maintain my full-time career job for about 2 years of our business. And I guess kind of going back to one of your questions, like what do you wish you knew kind of going into it?
Yeah.
I think knowing that it literally was a 24/7 thing and you had to be committed, especially, for anyone who's considering this as an option, if you don't have a safety net and savings, built in, be prepared to work all the time.
But see, it's like
do a lot yourself.
I almost feel like that was what makes you successful.
Yeah,
there was no
I
other
agree.
option. Like if we failed, we fucking failed. Like, we didn't have a safety net or money and things like that. And like, and I don't know, like I kind of grew up like not with money. So like for me personally, I didn't care. I was used to being broke. It didn't matter to me. Like if we tried something that didn't work out, I don't know, I'd figure it out, get a job doing whatever, honestly.
That's probably what helped push you guys too, though, because I think the fear of failure is what stops a lot of people from trying to begin with. Yeah.
Well, it's like, I think all that too is like, I mean, it's not a surprise. Burlington City is not like the easiest town to make it in.
Yeah.
So I think because like it was slow, like it was like almost like a boot camp for running successful business. Like it forced us to figure out how the fuck do we make this work?
Yeah.
Because we didn't have foot traffic. We didn't have people in this town. So it was like, we had to generate all of our own revenue, all of our own traffic through all of our marketing. So it was just trying to figure it out.
It's been so interesting to see how much this town has changed versus like when I lived in this area, like 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago or whatever. Because I remember when I was younger, my mom was like, do not go over there. Like, don't go to Burlington City. Like, she didn't want us ever coming anywhere over here at all. And when we would even go to like Ice Cream Parlor, like she was like, don't go there after dark. Like, you need to be home by this certain time and that kind of thing. And I feel like now it's become a lot more, I don't want to say like gentrified, but it has become a lot more like of a nice area.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's been like
the
turned
waterfront
around.
has been built up a little bit more.
But I feel like even you guys have helped with that because it's like now there's like a nice coffee shop over here that you can go to. Yeah.
I think that we have, we do bring a lot of traffic into the city, people who wouldn't be coming to Burlington anyway. So I do think that has been a factor in some of the
it's like funny though, like when I like think about the sales we're doing now, like I know we like price on the product and brand, but like not really quite sure how we fucking did it. Like I can't quantify it.
Ryan
like,
and I too.
I think that we have an awesome brand and a great product, but I don't, you know what I mean? Like
you guys are like the best coffee shop within like 15 miles of here easily.
But it's like weird though, because it's like we have like, it's not like we've ever done it before. We have no, like it's like weird to think that we are that place because like I don't feel that I know that much about anything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes we do internally look at each other and we're like, how did we get where we are now? Because Burlington City was a very difficult city.
Yeah.
And the sales numbers that we're doing now are I never would have imagined we would have been doing that year one. We used to
even think like, oh yeah, it's good for like Burlington City. And then we went to a conference recently and like learning the national average sales and like we're like 30% above that. And I'm like, fuck me. That's like, okay, so we actually are doing good, huh?
That's great.
Yeah.
But, like, it's like weird because like, I don't know, maybe we don't give ourselves enough credit. Cause like, again, I think I know what I'm doing, but I wouldn't say like, oh, I'm an expert at it or a roast master. I hate when people say that, by the way.
But I think also if you're just in the mindset of like, no, we got to do it. We got to make it work. I think that a lot of the times you're probably not looking at like, okay, this is the level where I'm finally like good and where I'm going to stop at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that that's probably also part of the reason why you don't even recognize that right off the bat. Because if you're not comparing yourself because you're just trying to do the best that you can do, like sometimes then hearing those numbers can be shocking. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like weird too because like we don't like compare ourselves. It's going to sound bad, but like we don't like to compare ourselves to other business because we feel like we could be better than that. And not to, punch down on anybody or anything like that. But like, even when I think about like, what we did different, like it's weird because like I just feel like we're doing what you kind of should do as a business. Like, isn't the whole point of having a business providing a good product and service at a decent price? Like, you know what I mean? And like that's what I mean. Like sometimes when I think about it, I'm like, I don't think we're doing anything revolutionary. I just think that we're doing what you fucking should do when you own a business. Like,
right.
And maybe that's just like an old way of thinking because like my grandparents raised me, so I think about like businesses back then. They took pride in what they did and like wanted to provide quality products, good services to people. And now it's like, I feel like most businesses are just trying to make a quick buck. You don't really care about what they're selling or doing.
Yeah. Somebody sees something work for someone else and they're like, I could do it too.
Yeah.
And they just jump straight into that.
I could do it better.
Yeah, absolutely. Since the two of you are married, what do you think is the most unexpected thing that you learned about each other in this process?
In the time that we've been together and we've been we have been almost married for the same amount of time as Evermore, so almost 8 years. We've been together for close to 14 years probably. But seeing him in coffee, even roasting and just being able to troubleshoot things and kind of know like where in his brain that little nugget of info is. I don't know, something about seeing how passionate you are about it.
Nice. That was a really nice answer.
What's yours? I'm nervous now.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, like, I don't think we would have got here without, like, Lauren's a workaholic. It's a good and a bad thing. Sometimes she needs to slow down a little bit, honestly.
Yeah.
But she's very organized and detail-oriented, which I am not. But I'm an idea person. So, like, we work well together in the sense of, like, I'm impressed by like all of like the manuals and like SOPs, checklists, and all that stuff. Sure, we talked about it and like formulated it together, but she's the one that actually did the work and wrote the shit down. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes when I read through our company shit, I'm like, man, this is like a real fucking company. This is crazy. Like, like I'm serious. Like you're like looking through this, you're like, man, this is like feels like you were hired by like a fucking, a company.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh shit, it's us. Like,
yeah.
So sometimes that's impressive, like, and you definitely don't give yourself enough credit at all with that.
Do you guys feel like you have a trick to separating like married mode and business mode, or does it all just bleed in?
Blends
It's
together.
more like sometimes now we're trying to like on the weekends not talk. It's impossible not to talk about work.
I think
it's really impossible.
What has helped us is having our daughter Eloise.
Yes.
Okay.
Before we had her, it was literally always Evermore. We only talked about Evermore. I only thought about Evermore.
Because that was your baby.
Yeah. And once we had Eloise, and I remember, before we had her, I was like, man, how are we going to do this? Like, my whole life is consumed by Evermore. Do I have room for another, like, being? Once we had Evermore, something switched in me, and I was like, once we had Eloise, something.
You sure about that?
Once we had Eloise, something switched, and I was like, okay, yeah, there's more to life than just having a successful business.
Are you guys gonna have more kids?
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah.
We like
Up in the air.
Get there when you get
To
there.
be determined.
I like the idea of it, but I don't know.
Yeah. That makes
Work,
sense.
honestly.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, with also running a business, I can't even imagine. What do you think has been your most rewarding part about building a business together?
It's so the cool thing is like, even though like we talk about work, it's kind of like a project we're always working on together. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like some couples have I mean, I'm sure you guys can relate. Like, you have couples that like, you know, it's like I have friends that like, oh, like dude's into video gaming and like, yeah, and so it's like after work, it's like they don't actually do anything together. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's interesting because like Evermore is like a built-in hobby that we're both passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we love working on Evermore together.
Yeah, like honestly, it comes to like I love branding, like really, really love branding. So like it's hard for us to not talk about business because even when we go to a restaurant, like or anywhere, we're like looking at like their decor or like, oh, this is a cool little vase. We'll take a picture of that. Like maybe we can put these on our table. Like or like, hey, like look at like the way their bar's set up. Like why do they have their syrups that way? Or like just scoping other things out and saying like, how could we do that? Or like, what do they do here? Or like, this is a cool way to plate this. Could we do this in our business? Like, just never ending. And even going to somewhere that isn't like relates to the business. Sometimes I find myself in the doctor's office looking at the room and be like, man, it's pretty, I bet it probably costs like 15 grand to build this room out though. Like,
yeah.
It's like weird, like, I don't know. It's like weird recently I've experienced where like, I feel like I can't shut it off.
Yeah.
So it's like you're constantly evaluating other businesses and thinking about like, what did that cost? Why did they do that? How did they do this?
Does that frustrate you? Do you ever feel like, oh, I wish I could just turn my brain off for a second and be normal?
Yes and no. Sometimes it does. Like sometimes it doesn't. I like it, but like it is frustrating because I don't get to enjoy it from the customer side all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like sometimes it kind of sucks being the really cool shop in the area because I don't get to go to a shop.
We're like, man,
be
we
like,
wish we
damn,
had a
this is really
place.
cool.
Line, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it's like kind of sucks. Actually.
Like I said, it was like you guys are like the best shop within like I think 15 miles of here easily. Yeah, absolutely. What do you wish that somebody would have told you guys before you started?
I think that it's good that no one told us anything. Honestly,
Yeah.
And honestly, quite frankly, I'll be honest. Like anyone watching this, thinking about it, anything we're saying, you're probably watching, and be like, yeah, fuck that though, because like I'm gonna do it anyways, and it doesn't matter what you're saying, because that's gonna be my experience. Like it's like the same thing. I feel like no one's gonna like, even if anyone that wants to do it, if someone's to tell you something, you're not gonna listen to them. Like you know what I mean? You're just gonna do your thing because you think you know better.
We reached out to somebody for advice on something, and they told us, oh well, you guys are working the bar day to day, and we were like, yeah, like we have to, and she was like, yeah, okay, well now you have to, but like you guys just built a job for yourself.
My cousin.
Yeah, I guess it was your cousin, and I remember thinking, and I was
started like a crazy like HBA whole like therapy thing back in like I don't know 15, 20 years ago. And like did it pretty good, and then ended up like selling and doing other stuff. But,
yeah, but I remember she was saying that, and that was the first time I was like, yeah, having a business is not just like serving coffee. There's a whole world to it, and I was like, yeah, she's right. Like I don't want to be a barista for the rest of my life. Physically, it's demanding on you. And that was the first instance where I was like, okay, like we have to like focus on other things. I think if I knew that going in, honestly, it might have deterred us a little bit. That's where in a way I almost side with Ryan. I'd rather not know anything.
But like the thing is kind of what you said before though, like working the bar and like the business, like for me, I don't feel like, yeah, we had a business for 8 years, but I don't really feel like we owned a business until like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. Because I feel like if you own a business, right? I don't mean to do air quotes, but if you own a business and you're in it every day, like producing what that business makes basically, then like you're not really like, unless you have like a full staff, you're managing people, you're managing process procedures, and you're overseeing it, like you're not the one actually doing it. You're creating the policies, you're monitoring them, and giving like room for people to learn the shit that you want them to learn, like how we do our recipes and stuff. Like that's owning a business. When you're doing it all yourself, it's a fucking job.
Yeah, it is.
Because like honestly, that's not hard. The hard part is hiring people, training them, monitoring them, manage them, not micromanaging,
trusting them. Yeah,
trusting. It's like a whole thing. Like that's like a business. Like I don't think until that point it's not really a business. And that's the personal thing. I'm sure people will be like, oh, fuck you.
No, I don't think so. I think that it's different for everybody, you know, and I think that I feel like you have to have this is my job, portion of owning a business first.
Yeah.
Versus
I mean,
just...
and that's the other thing too, is there's also a lot of people that make the mistake of like, they're like, I want to do a business. And they fucking hire all these people in the beginning to like run the business. And it's like your payroll it doesn't make any sense. And it's because they don't want to actually work in their business, and they'll never survive.
Yeah, I was gonna say the people that do have all this money to start off with and like run the business, I feel like those are the businesses that are like kind of shitty because they don't
quite a bit.
Yeah,
I could think of.
Yeah, they don't have like the same passion for it because they're not in it.
For us, it also was very helpful that we worked the bar and like had a passion for coffee.
Yes.
I think there are a lot of people who want to open a coffee shop but don't necessarily have that passion for coffee and like don't have the desire to work behind the bar. But we did, and so we know the pain points that baristas have, and we can kind of empathize with what our baristas go through now.
That's probably what makes you guys great bosses.
I think it is, and I think that's kind of what sets us apart a little bit from some other cafes.
We were like way too lean in the beginning, though, to be honest with
you. We've learned to tighten our reins.
Too much, I think, but like we're getting there. It's just hard, you know.
Yeah.
Managing people is difficult, especially when you're young and no experience ever being a boss. So like that's, you know.
Yeah,
you said you guys were like 25, 26?
Yeah, and we really only had like Brian said, I still am kind of in the same place. I didn't really feel like I owned a business until we opened the second space, I think, and like really had a staff that we were managing and had other things that we could focus on growing. Up until that point, it was just kind of like the day to day. We were just here as baristas, keeping the business going. Now it's more about how can we grow the business and
that's also a weird transition too. Like we're at a point to where we're like kind of transitioning where like now we have all the, like, not all this time, but now we have more time to focus on like growing the business. And that's all scary too, because it's like you spend all these years getting good at the day-to-day stuff, right? And then it's like, oh shit, like, do I even know what I'm doing? Like, how do I grow this? Like, what do we do? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to call somebody? Like, how do I get more accounts? Like, and it's like weird because it's also a little, like, it's also feeling like starting over again in a different way because it's like, with owning business, you have no one telling you what to do. So it's like, unless you figure it out, like, it's, you know, you're just going to be there.
Yeah. If time and money wasn't an issue, what does Evermore look like for you? Like, what would your dream Evermore look like? Would you make, like, multiple locations?
Probably multiple locations.
I actually used to think about, like, oh, if I won the lottery, what would that do? And, like, my first thought was, like, okay, I'll take a couple million, invest it into the business. And then, like, if we did that, invest in the business and already had something that was self-sustaining, then we could pay people like good money and it wouldn't hurt. Because if we didn't have to worry about our own personal money, then we didn't have to draw from the business. Yeah. So then we could focus on just growing the business, paying better like wages like that way. Like I would love to pay like, you know, really ridiculous high salaries if you didn't have to worry about it. And then just rapid expansion. Doing like, you know, and then that thing is like if you're doing things successful and not to worry about make money, you could take chances and risks on like concept cafes and stuff like that, like things that are more like tasting room, higher end, things like that. But I don't know, honestly, like it'd be cool to, I don't know, just having a couple of locations. I really don't know. Actually.
Like one vision we've always had is to open cafes kind of along a route that motorcyclists can visit. So motorcycle riding is a component of our brand. So we've always kind of had this idea of having a location, like we love to go on rides in Bucks County. So we're like, imagine if we had a location in Bucks County and then we could do some sort of like, you know, stop at this cafe, then stop at this one, get your passport stamped, and then eventually like you get so many and you get a prize.
Get like a coin or something. Yeah. Like that. It's kind of like back in the day, like Ace Cafe in London was like that. It was a ton up. And it basically was like if you can get from one cafe to the other within a certain amount of time, you had to hit 100 miles an hour. So if you did that, you get like you got a pin. And you were part of that like.
Wasn't that basically. Like kind of how like even the name of like Cafe Racer motorcycles started? Yes. Yeah.
It all started at Ace Cafe in London.
Yeah.
And then like work with builders to have like, you know, like different like bike shows like, you know, throughout the year and stuff like that. Get some builders to like park things there for a little while. Yeah. Which we are kind of trying to do something like that without having money, so we'll see how that works. Yeah.
I'm excited for you guys. Yeah. I think you can do it. You made it this far. I feel like you guys can do anything you put your mind to, it seems like.
If you know any investors.
I will let you know. I will let you know. I guess let's wrap up with you guys' like we made it moment. I'm sure you guys are going to mention like opening the second location and feeling like you finally got a little bit of a break.
I think my moment was so small. Probably the first Saturday we had off, which was, you know, 3 or 4 years into our business. The first Saturday we had off where the business was still open and operating and running. That was a pivotal moment. And I was like, oh, geez, like this is the first time we're not at the cafe and things are going fine.
Yeah, like that moment where like you're so used to doing the bar where you're like, oh shit, our business is making money and that wasn't me doing it. That's a wild, trippy thing. Like, where you're like, holy shit, like, we did, like, X amount of sales, and, like, we didn't do it, but our business did. And that's, like, a weird thing. Like, now I'm gotten used to it, because, like, it's been like that for a while now. But, like, at first, it was, like, such a weird, like, out-of-body moment where you're like, oh, that's weird, because we were so used to being there at the cafe, and the cafe can only be open when we're there. And,
right.
Like, and I think that was the moment of, like, going from working a job to having a business as well.
Right.
Yeah.
What would make you feel like you made it?
That's a good question. I would say, like, it'd be nice to be able to afford to buy a house and not have to worry about things as much. I mean, I'm not saying, like, we're, like, trying to rub two nickels together to, like, make a fire type of situation. But, like, you know, we're not, like, well off by any means. Like, we can't really afford a new car or buy a house and shit like that. So it'd be nice to be able to just afford the normal shit you should be able to afford in life. That'd be nice. I would like a house with a garage. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not much to ask for, which is wild because nowadays it seems like a lot to ask for, which is crazy. One of my good friends that owns a barbershop, like, because we have bikes and ride and stuff, and, like, you know, we don't really have much money, you know, and, like, but he's like, yeah, dude, he's like, but people probably look at us with the bikes that we have and this place and like, oh, what the fuck do they do? And I'm like, that's a very good point. Yeah. Because, like, yeah, from the outside looking, you look at our cool shop, like, oh, what the fuck? Like, how do they afford that? And, like, I have some cool bikes and, like, oh, what are they, like, but it's, you know, I don't know.
And I think it's, again, that's where this whole, like, podcast comes into play, because, like, you see stuff online and on the internet and in the media, and you're like, how the fuck?
One way.
You know what I mean? Like, and you really never know, like, the actual story behind something. Like, even take me, for example, like, I have a Corvette. My Corvette's a salvage title. Like, it wasn't brand new 2014 Corvette. Like, I paid an average amount for an average car. For my car. You know what I mean? But people, like, see me pull up in that, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Well, they make assumptions.
Exactly. Thank you guys so much for coming on Euro versus Iro.
Yeah, thanks for coming us on.
Absolutely.
Having us on.
Yeah, this is incredible. I had so much fun. I hope you guys did too.
Yeah, we did.
That's great. Let's roll the outro music.